Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing. This is Latvia's favorite podcast host, Joe, and we have a brand new co-host this week. It is my lovely wife, Alexis.
Hello. Hi, I'm Alexis. I'm Joe's wife.
We're going to start this week the way we usually do, which is by talking about some things we've been up to recently. Alexis, since you're new to the show, have you been up to anything new and exciting as of late?
I have been. I've got a couple things that I've been doing. And tell me if this is what you're thinking. So I'm learning how to roller skate.
That's pretty cool.
I'm a 41-year-old chubby gal at the roller rink with a bunch of pads on, learning how to skate. It's great.
I think you're doing well.
I'm having a great time. Joe came with me yesterday, and we had fun, and he watched me. He was my emotional support husband.
That's what I'm here for.
And I didn't fall one time yesterday, and I got lots of weird looks from little children, but I'm having a great time. That's
what I always say, fuck children.
That's right.
Not in that way, though.
No,
but not, yeah.
Eat dicks, children.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe that children are the worst.
Yeah. So that's what I've been doing. We also, could you guys talk about like books and
any
shit
media
like that?
you've been into?
We, maybe you were going to talk about this. Last weekend we watched Mulholland Drive.
I forgot to put that on my list. What'd you think of that?
So, R.I.P. David Lynch. That was part of the whole. That was why we did that. And it was weird. It was a weird movie. I liked it though. It was great.
You could say it was Lynchian.
It was. Yeah. What'd you think?
I liked it. I mean, I had never seen it before. I have a confession to make.
Yeah.
I have not seen most of David Lynch's movies.
Yeah.
I love Twin Peaks, but I've only seen a couple of his films, so
yeah.
I was excited to watch Mulholland Drive because I've heard people say that it's like his magnum opus, and I quite liked it. I mean, it's honestly one that I feel like I will probably revisit multiple times in the future.
Yeah.
Try to figure out
what the hell is going on.
Well, it's almost a pointless task to ask that question when it comes to David Lynch, but
right.
I think it's more about. I heard a podcast talking about this recently. It's more about like emotional truth and like what it makes you feel.
Sure.
Rather than trying to figure out,
it's art.
It's art. Yeah. It's trying to elicit an emotional response and like make you feel some sort of inner truth rather than just convey a plot.
It's not supposed to be beautiful. It's supposed to be what you think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that was pretty cool. I'm also reading a couple books. I've read some smut lately.
Yeah.
And also, I read a memoir by Maria Bamford. The Sure I'll Join Your Cult is the name of it.
How was that?
It was really good. And actually, I didn't read it. I'm one of those people. I'm listening to it. I think it counts.
I think audiobooks count.
But I mean, if you're going to listen to it, it should be by the author.
Yeah.
It should be who's reading it.
Well, and I mean, Maria Bamford has such a specific voice
and tone,
like literal,
right,
specific speaking voice. So I'm sure that adds a lot to it.
It was really good. It was funny. It was sad. I laughed. I cried. I farted.
Oh,
yeah. So those are kind of the things I've been doing. What have you been up to?
That's cool. I think both of the things I wanted to mention are things that I have previously discussed on this very podcast. One of them is I finally finished playing God of War: Ragnarok, which is a game that I believe I started over 2 years ago.
Yeah, you've been playing that.
Yeah, well, I haven't been playing it as the problem. Sure. Because it just feels like a slog. So it's the 20,000th entry in the God of War series, but it is like the direct sequel to the God of War reboot that was released in 2018. And that is probably one of the better games I've ever played. This one, I really like the storyline, but it just felt way too long. And the combat just feels really repetitive. And at a certain point, I just wanted to get it over with. So I actually sat down over the weekend and turned the difficulty down all the way to the lowest, which I think they call just like Give Me Story or something. Like it's just really based on just getting through the story and not worrying.
Story.
Yeah. So I did that and got through it. And again, I really love the storyline in that game. It made me feel some feelings, but I just wish the game overall had been a little more concise. The other thing I wanted to mention is something Alexis and I have both been partaking of, and that is one of, I think, my favorite TV shows of all time, at least based on the first season plus one episode, and that is Severance on Apple TV+.
Yeah.
I know I've mentioned the first season on this podcast before, and we just got done revisiting that first season. I think it is one of my favorite seasons of television of all time. And season 2 just started airing on Apple TV+, so we have only watched... They're doing it weekly, so I think we've only watched one episode. There are 2 episodes out right now. I know, Alexis, I think you said so far you don't feel like season 2 is quite capturing you as much as the first season. But...
Well, the first season, they leave you on a little bit of a cliffhanger, quite a bit of a queefhanger.
They leave you on a queefhanger.
A cliffhanger.
Baby.
I know. And that last episode of season 1 was like fantastic. And you're on the edge of your seat and it's amazing. And then I feel like that first episode was like womp 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 womp.
Yeah, I mean, slight spoiler for, I guess, episode 1 of season 2 of Severance. It feels like it's almost kind of like resetting the table.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
I have faith that they're going to get more into, some of the things that they left us off with in season 1, but
yeah,
like so far it feels like it's not completely resetting the status quo of the show, but it's kind of, it does feel like it's kind of stopping the forward momentum that we left off with.
Well, and I mean, it's the first episode, and you can only fit so much into an episode. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm still in it. Like, I love all the characters. All the acting's been really awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, it does, like, there's kind of one big central thing that I feel like season 1 was pointing toward, that the cliffhanger at the end of season 1, like, literally, like, just stops on this big reveal.
Yeah.
And it feels like season 2 is telling us that they're going to explore that.
Right.
Like, they haven't really dove that far into it yet, but, like, it seems like they're setting that up. So, again, I mean, I really enjoyed the first episode. Like, I thought... One of the things I love about the show is that it kind of balances tones in a really deft, incredible way. Like, it's hilarious at times, but it also is, like, super dark and, like, can make you feel some feelings. And, like, I feel like the humor, especially in the first episode of season 2, was kind of dialed up. Like, there were some really funny moments. I don't want to spoil anything, but there were some guest stars who pop up that I was not expecting, like actors that I know from other things, and that was kind of fun. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely interested to see where it goes.
For sure.
But anyway, that is what we've been up to recently, and now I want to get into the main event for today. Mm-hmm. Or should I say that I would like to get into the main event for today.
You sound like Werner Herzog. It's not really Nosferatu.
I would like to see the baby.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't Werner Herzog sound like a vampire, though?
I guess. Yeah.
Speaking of Werner Herzog, he actually in the 70s made a version of Nosferatu.
Okay.
Starring Klaus Kinski, I believe, his frequent collaborator. And the reason we are gathered here today is to discuss Robert Eggers' recent remake of the classic silent film Nosferatu. I apparently am super lazy on my research and did not look up what year that film came out.
1922.
1922 German silent film Nosferatu, a symphony of horror.
A symphony of horror.
I remember that part.
Yeah.
Before we get to talking about Robert Eggers' specific remake of this film, I wanted to briefly talk about our kind of experiences in... I don't want to get too much into qualitative discussion because, spoiler alert, at the end of this, we're going to rate all of Robert Eggers' films, but just what is your sort of general like feeling about your past experience with his filmography?
My feelings, so Joe and I, when we first watched a couple of his movies together, we did it on a weekend away together, and I think that kind of flavors how I feel about the movies.
Yeah.
It was like very relaxing kind of mini vacation. I mean, the movies that we watched were great. So we watched
The
Witch, and
The Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse. And first of all, loved them. They were wonderful.
Yeah.
But also it was like a fun time. And so I think when I think of those movies, I think of like that kind of flavors that a little bit.
A fun romantic. Robert Eggers is just a fun romantic getaway in your mind. That's fair.
Smooches and The Witch.
Yeah,
and
you know.
eating babies and, you know.
I mean, that sounds like our relationship.
Yeah.
Fuck children.
Wait, what? No.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I have kind of been surprised in that I think Robert Eggers is one of my favorite current filmmakers. And, I mean, backing up a little bit, I've mentioned on this podcast before a few times, I generally don't really like horror movies. Or I think I say that as kind of an easy way out, because what I really mean is I don't like jump scares or like overt gory like slasher movies. Like, I do enjoy movies that can build a sense of like dread and like build a creepy atmosphere and more of like an unsettling like psychological horror approach. And I feel like Robert Eggers is kind of a master of that. Like, there are no jump scares in 3 out of his 4 movies that I can really think of. There's one in The Witch that's maybe kind of, but it's like super minor. Yeah. But man, can he build that sense of dread and foreboding. And he also, his movies tend to have just some pretty weird elements, and not just because a few of them star Willem Dafoe. But he has this just kind of, at least occasionally, goes off on these weird, unhinged, like psychedelic tangents, and that just seems to fit well with my own weirdness. So,
well, I think the actors that he cast too, aside from Willem Dafoe, I'm not good with names. Anya Taylor-Joy.
Apparently, it's Anya Taylor-Joy. Just learned recently.
She's a great actress, but she's also, she's just weird looking. Like, she's beautiful, but she's unique looking. Like, she just kind of has a look about her that makes...
She has kind of like a ethereal supernatural vibe. Yeah.
And then also, I guess I'm drawing mostly from The Witch, but...
Kate Dickey?
Yes.
Yeah.
She is scary.
Yeah, like, she's amazing, but yeah, she does have...
She has a look.
Yeah, she is terrifying.
Yeah. And last one,
Ralph Ineson?
Yep, thank you.
Yep, I got you.
So anyway, like the people that they cast, the casting for those movies are spot on. I
believe the latter two also both being Game of Thrones alum.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, yep. Sure. So those are all things that like make him make his movies interesting and more like give depth to them, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. The other thing I wanted to ask is, do you have any prior experience with Nosferatu specifically, or what is your experience? So let's get this out of the way. Mm-hmm. Nosferatu, did you say 1922?
Yes.
1922 German silent film was apparently controversial back in the day because it is literally a retelling of the Dracula story. Mm-hmm. And there was some copyright issues. Apparently the filmmaker was actually sued by the widow of Bram Stoker because it is just a non-licensed retelling of Dracula, which I think is interesting because, like, we're used to those sorts of things going on today.
Yeah.
But I don't really think of that as being something that would be happening with movies in 1922.
Right.
So, I mean, the two are intrinsically tied together. Like, Nosferatu literally is...
Yeah.
You know, they changed the setting and the names of the characters and everything, but the overall story really is very strongly based on Dracula.
Yeah.
So what was your experience with all of that prior to this film?
I have never seen Nosferatu. I have read the book by Bram Stoker, and I've, I actually, when we started talking about doing the podcast, I started thinking about all of the, experience I have with vampire, my personal experience with vampires.
Yeah. Could you take a vampire?
No, I could not. But yeah, I've never seen the movie. I've watched all the other stuff. I've always kind of been afraid to watch it because it looks too creepy.
It does look pretty creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen Dracula movies, though.
Yeah. So those, I have a whole list of. I was kind of surprised by how much vampire is in my life.
Yeah.
Like, how much I've thought about it. But like Bram Stoker's Dracula the movie was a favorite as a kid,
oh, yeah.
as a child.
I still love that movie.
It came out in 92, right? Is that when it came out? That
sounds right, yeah.
So I was 9, so I definitely should have been watching that.
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about sexy Dracula stories.
Sexy Draculas. Yep. Also went through like all the movies recently, or not like in the past that kind of draw on Dracula or that story, and ones I had forgotten about. Did you ever see Once Bitten?
Yeah, I mean,
with Jim Carrey
40 years ago.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That was a favorite for some reason. Yes.
I mean, so many vampire things, like even getting outside of like the direct Dracula thing. Like, I mean, I guess Dracula did introduce vampires to the kind of wider lexicon.
Right.
I mean, I have talked on this podcast about Interview with the Vampire, one of my favorite ongoing series, The
movie and the books, and the TV show. There's always, of course, Buffy.
Yeah, both the movie and the series.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, I mean,
Lost Boys. Yeah.
What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the
More
Shadows.
Comedic take. Both the movie and the series.
What was the movie we also watched?
Renfield.
Well, Renfield. Yeah, but Only Lovers Left Alive.
Oh, yeah.
That is if you want to be sad about vampires, that is a movie I recommend.
Yeah, that's a great movie. Okay, here's the only pitch that our audience needs. Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton as immortal vampire lovers.
Like the most emo.
Like two people that are among the most likely to be actual vampires on the earth. And it is like, I mean, it's not, most of the movie does not have to do with really vampire stuff. No. It's like a sad romance, like, it's a really good film.
Yeah.
It is a film. It is not a movie.
It's a film. Yeah. We've also got Van Helsing, if you're into that.
Oh, I love that trashy shit.
Yeah, I do too. Oh.
I mean, what?
Hugh, what's his fuck?
Hugh...
Oh my god.
Hugh Grant is a vampire?
No.
I would watch that.
Who was in Van Helsing? Oh my god.
Hugh
Jackman! Oh my god. Yeah. I couldn't think of his name.
Anyway, lots of vampire
stuff.
But yeah, I mean, my experience is similar. I have seen all these things. I actually read about half of the novel Dracula a couple years ago and then just got sidetracked and didn't go back.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weirdly structured book, which I struggled with a little bit because it's all like letters and diary entries.
Right. So I read it about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And of course, this is after I have seen Bram Stoker's Dracula like 1,000 times. And I was kind of just like, yeah, this is the movie I watched.
Yeah.
Like, it is the movie.
Well,
like, it's not...
I mean, that's the thing about Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Francis Ford Coppola film starring Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder, is that it is a pretty accurate telling
right
of the novel.
Yeah.
You know, it is kind of like a gothic romance, whereas a lot of the other, you know, adaptations are more horror focused. But anyway, so that's I feel like that's enough about our background with Dracula's. Sure. Let's talk about Nosferatu, the 2024 film by Robert Eggers, starring Lily Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult, Bill Skarsgård, Willem Dafoe, Ralph Ineson, and many more. Not very many more. There's
and
only
like 2 more.
Yeah, there's like 3 more. I guess I wanted to just generally start with, what did you think about this movie?
I liked this movie.
Yeah.
It is also it felt to me like, oh yeah, this is the Dracula story. But it had a couple of things about it that I really enjoyed, including, I don't know if if we are how you guys do this, but talking about the ending, I liked that we're different.
Well, we'll get to the ending. I do want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is, again, overall, it is the Dracula story for the most part. I want to kind of talk about some more specific things.
Sure.
I do want to talk about some differences, both like from the Dracula story and also from my understanding. There's one big difference from what I've read from the original Nosferatu, which I think I would have liked the original version better.
Okay.
But we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
So, really brief overview of this movie. It kind of starts with a weird sequence of a younger version of Lily Rose Depp's character, Ellen Hunter. Ellen Hutter. She's like a weird, lonely young person who she like calls out for a guardian angel to come and keep her company, and this voice like appears in her mind, and she ends up kind of making a wedding pact with it.
Yeah, we've all done that.
Yeah, we've all done that.
Yeah.
And then we see the first jump scare of the movie. We see a very quick flash of what we later learn is Count Orlok, the vampire. And then it looks like there's maybe some weird sexy stuff going on. Yeah. And then we flash forward to the future, and she is engaged, or married actually, to Thomas Hutter, played by Nicholas Hoult, who is a young estate agent who gets tasked to go sell a mansion in this town in Germany they live in to Count Orlok.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, he has to travel to Count Orlok in whatever Transylvania, Romania, somewhere over there.
Yeah.
Anyway, then Dracula stuff ensues. I guess my first question to you is, what did you think about this like opening scene where she's making this pact with this dark force?
What did I think about it, Joe? I thought it was, it could have been clearer, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I know what was happening, because I know what happens in this stuff. But, like, I was kind of like, okay, so the other thing that we discussed before we watched this movie was if we were going to have subtitles on. Yeah. Could have used more subtitles for me. I think just because of like the language being used and like the time period and everything. I was just like, okay, I don't know. It wasn't it for me, that part. And I don't feel like it set it up the way I would have liked it to have. So that's what I think about it.
I kind of agree. I thought it was... I feel like this was an instance where Robert Eggers was trying, like... It was like mood and vibe over substance.
Yeah.
Like
it was mood and vibe,
yeah,
for sure.
It is like very creepy and like weird, but like as a starting point to the movie, it's kind of like WTF me.
Yeah.
We'll come back to this in a second though.
Okay.
Because this is tied to my biggest, I think, reservation about the film. Let's talk about performances.
Yeah.
What did you think of Lily Rose Depp?
I mentioned this.
And also, hold on, let me sub-question.
Yes.
This role was originally supposed to actually be played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who has collaborated with Robert Eggers multiple times.
Yeah.
But she had to bow out due to some scheduling issues.
Sure.
And so Lily Rose Depp was brought in as a replacement. And go.
Okay. So I thought she was great. I thought what other movies has she been in? Was she in Yoga Hosers?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the only other movie
I have not seen her in anything else.
And I love Mia Kevin Smith, but that movie sucked. So, that was the only thing I had ever seen her in. I thought she was great. She was wonderful. As I mentioned when we were watching it, I couldn't get over how much she looks like Johnny Depp, and it kind of weirded me out.
Yeah, I didn't think about that until like 2/3 of the way through the movie when Alexis so kindly mentioned it, and
You're
then
welcome.
all I could see was Johnny Depp. But I agree. I thought she was great. Like, I was honestly surprised by how much I appreciated her performance, and like I feel like I'm honestly glad that it was not Anya Taylor-Joy because I love her as an actress, but I almost feel like I don't even know how to describe it.
It was better suited for her.
Yeah, I feel like it was better suited for someone else.
Yeah.
Well, and especially since she's supposed to be kind of like a normal person who is like, put upon by this evil force.
Right.
I feel like, as we discussed, there is something kind of inherently ethereal, supernatural, whatever about Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
Like, it almost would have felt like too on the nose for her to be this character.
Of course she has a marriage pact with a demon. Duh. Yeah.
Well, and I want to, like, this is something that we have not discussed yet, but, like, there's a lot of physicality in her performance.
Yeah.
Like, weird, like, a lot of, like, tremors and stuff, and, like, I don't know if, like, CGI or special effects were used to enhance some of that stuff. I imagine it had to have been it, because there's scenes where she's, like, contorting her body in, like, horrific ways, where she's, like, possessed by this force.
Yeah.
And it's just, like...
I think those had to be not CGI. Those had to be someone, a contortionist. Or,
like, a contortionist.
Stuff
but
like that. Yeah, I don't think it was her.
But... I don't think it was her doing that, but there were scenes where she's, like, convulsing and, like, speaking. And, like, I think... I do agree that there were probably doubles used in things, but I think she also did put in, like, at least some degree of, like, a pretty incredible physical performance, too.
I didn't like that part. But that's because of my own personal, like, having seen people have lots of seizures. And
like, you just didn't think it was realistic?
I just didn't look realistic to me. Yeah, no.
But have you seen people have...
demonic
Nosferatu seizures?
Maybe. I don't know. Possibly. I've seen people... Here, this is what I'll tell you. I'm going to put this in air quotes, too. I've seen a lot of people have fake seizures, quote unquote. And that's what they look like. Anyway.
I should mention that Alexis is an RN and worked for a few years on
an epilepsy
unit on the neuro floor. So she knows a lot about these things.
Yeah.
I thought it was effective and creepy.
Sure.
So.
Okay. Most people probably, yes.
All right. How about, I'm just going to go through the cast.
Yeah.
How about your boy Nicholas Hoult?
I loved him.
I love Nicholas Hoult.
He's great in everything.
He was
was
amazing.
So good at being a sniveling, scared baby boy.
Yeah. His entire role in this movie is just being like scared man-child who's just like in over his head.
Yeah. Help.
Which like, I mean, that's kind of, that's who he is in the menu too.
Yeah.
Kind of. Like, I feel like he's great at being like that. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
just like sweaty and like, oh man. Yeah. Creepy.
for sure.
Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe
as basically Van Helsing.
Yeah, basically Van Helsing. I loved him. I loved how they portrayed him as. If you watch the movie, there's a couple things going on with like the, what do you call it? The dress, like how they dressed him.
Yeah, the costumes.
So the costuming, yeah, everybody looked like fantastic and all done up. And he was in this like brown overcoat thing
with like multiple layers of cape on the back of it. He
just looked like a disheveled, like crazy old. Like I loved it. Yeah. I loved everything about him.
Yeah, I mean visually, I loved his performance too. I mean, I love Willem Dafoe. He's another one of those actors who just like, anytime he shows up in something, he's going like he makes it better by his being in it.
Yes,
like he's going to give a great performance and an interesting performance. And I think what I love about his performance here is that. It's a riff on the Van Helsing character.
Von Franz, I think.
Yes, Professor Von Franz.
Yeah.
He's kind of this, like, he's been rejected by the scientific community because of his research in, like, the occult and paranormal. And so when we first meet him, he's very just kind of, like, depressed. But then once he starts getting involved in this, he has this, like, glee about him.
Yeah.
Like, even as he is, like, exploring these terrifying and terrible things, there's just this, like, excitement that he has.
He kind of reminded me of, like, a cartoon character. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen The Secret of Nim.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so The Secret of Nim, there's the, what is the little mouse guy's name who mixes the... I don't know. He's just like...
Nicodemus?
No, not Nicodemus.
That's the only name I can remember.
I don't know. Anyway, he reminds me of just like a old, like, haggard, like, haha! Like, he's just, like, so excited about, being in a creepy old occult dude. Anyway, yes, I loved him.
I agree. I mean, Ralph Ineson, I thought was solid. He doesn't have a ton of, like, interesting stuff to do, but, like, I feel like he's also a great actor.
He did what he had to do in that role, yeah.
What did you think of the Friends, the Hardings, Aaron Taylor Johnson and Emma Corrin?
While we were watching that, Aaron Taylor Johnson, that's his name?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so...
Not to be confused with Anya Taylor-Joy.
I know, that's why I was like... so when we were watching it, I was like, is that...
It's Kick-Ass.
Is that him? Is that Kick-Ass?
That's Kick-Ass. Or should I say Craven the Hunter?
Sure. I thought he was also great.
Yeah.
I don't think that was a role that I've seen him do. I mean,
he's
nothing
an actor
similar.
who, like, I feel like I've seen him in probably a few things, but I just can't, like, I don't really think about him much. Like, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just, like, he's not someone who is necessarily, like, often in my purview, like, but I agree. I thought he was really good in that role. Like, He
was good at being stuffy.
Yeah. Well, but, like, he's, he's, like, a rich a-hole kind of, but, like... But I don't feel like he is a super a-hole.
No.
Like, he's trying to look after his friends.
Right.
But, like, it is certain... I kind of like that he does get to a point where he's, like, hit his limit, where it's like, I need you to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I have heard a couple people, like... The only criticism I've heard of his performance is that some people think that he's, like, too jacked to convincingly play someone of that era. Because I think they shot this after they shot Craven the Hunter.
I don't think you could tell he was that jacked, though.
I mean, like, he has, like, broad shoulders and stuff, but, like, I don't...
he looked like a healthy, wealthy business dude.
Yeah, like a strapping business person. I agree.
He's got a couple of kids. He's, obviously eating well and...
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think he was pretty good for it.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he was good. I mean, Emma Corrin is not in it much, I feel like, but I thought she was pretty good as well.
Yeah, I thought she was good. She was not, she
I'm sorry, they. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I keep doing this.
They are...
They, yes.
I think they could have done... I think the production of the film could have done more with them as a character.
I agree. I think they are a great actor. I mean, we have seen them... they played Princess Diana for, I think, 2 seasons on The Crown, and were great in that. Mm-hmm. They were also the main villain in Deadpool and Wolverine, and I thought they were, like,
really good.
Phenomenal in that movie, like, as the villain.
No, I think they did a good job.
They just didn't have much to do in this movie besides be kind of like a scared friend.
Yeah. I think they could have done more with that character. Yeah. Honestly.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm purposely holding off on asking about one performance.
Okay.
The other one I wanted to bring up is Simon McBurney as Hernock, who is basically the Renfield character in this. He's like the vampire's
what do you call
familiar?
It? Yeah.
What do you think about him?
I thought he was good. I mean, solid, weird guy. Yeah. You know.
I think Simon McBurney is an actor who I have seen in a few things weirdly, and he's always good.
I can't. What has he been in? Because
I don't think he was in a series called Rev.
Oh. Yeah.
Which I really liked. Which is about, it's like, I mean, it was contemporary in like the early 2000s, but as someone who's like a vicar in the Church of England and kind of dealing with, you know, being that in the modern day.
Gotcha.
But he actually played like the main character's boss, who was kind of like a stuffy, like, I think he's like an archbishop or something. Or, he's been, I want to say he was in like one of the Mission Impossible movies. Like he just kind of pops up
he's
here
a character
and there,
actor, kind of.
Yeah, he's like a British character actor. But I always like him, and I thought he was good here.
Yeah, thought he was good.
So this brings us to the big one. Mm-hmm. Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I thought he was unrecognizable, and as he does. He is kind of a chameleon dude, right? I thought he was great. I thought, as we kind of talked about, he's kind of his goofy, it's not goofy, it's scaly.
Nosferatu.
Yeah.
It's the rolling of the R's there.
Yeah, he really is good at it. I thought he was pretty good. And I think there's, like you were saying, he's kind of a vibe. I think he's kind of a vibe. Like, he is scary by doing very little. Yeah. Like, he didn't have to do a lot to... There's at one point where he yells at Nicholas Holt's character, and you're like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Like, just out of nowhere, and it's scary. So, I mean, he did what he was supposed to do, I feel like.
Oh, man, like the early scenes where... when they're still in Transylvania or wherever, and like Nicholas Hoult is starting to get scared, and he calls him Sir.
Oh yeah,
and then Orlok's like, my lord.
Yeah,
like it's like makes him call him my lord.
And you're like, yes, Daddy.
Yeah,
that's like kind of how.
I mean, I don't know if I thought that, but there were those vibes.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
What did you think of the character design, though?
Like physically?
Yeah.
I know people have kind of described him as comparing him to the character that Jim Carrey plays.
Dr. Robotnik from the Sonic the Hedgehog movies.
I kept thinking about that the whole time. But honestly, like, if you look at, like, pictures of, you know, Vlad the Impaler and stuff, that's kind of what the dude looks like.
Well, so that's what I kind of struggle with, is that the character design for Nosferatu... Well, so part of it is they kind of take, like, the Jaws approach in that they don't really give you a good look at the character for a very long time into the movie. For most of the movie. And even when they do, it's kind of in fleeting glimpses. Like, I don't think it's really until the very end that you get any sort of kind of sustained look at him.
Right.
And I don't know that the character itself, like the design itself, is it's not as like inherently scary as one might expect, I feel like. You know, even compared to like the 1922 version,
Right.
which is like very like sharp and like terrifying.
I think that works for it though.
But on the other hand, part of me does feel like it works because, as you said, like, I feel like Eggers is trying to make him look like he was, you know, a like 16th century or whatever, like European noble person. Like, that is kind of what they looked like.
It also kind of speaks to the fact that, like, I keep saying, like, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. We do that here.
So, it also speaks to the fact that you don't have to be a creepy monster to be a creepy monster.
Yeah,
you know what I
fair.
mean? Some of the scariest things in people are humans.
Yeah.
You know? So, I thought he looked like he was a scary, demonic vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I kind of see both sides of it, but I think in the end, it kind of did work for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of the end, you said that there was like a change to the ending that you liked.
Yeah. So in the book and in the
Bram Stoker's
and
Dracula,
in Bram Stoker's Dracula the film, Nicholas Holt's character, the husband, the estate agent, the whatever, he kills.
I want to say it's Jonathan Harker.
Jonathan Harker kills it with another character.
Yeah.
Kill Dracula. And in the movie Nosferatu, Lily Rose Depp's character basically tricks him into sucking her blood into the sunlight, like as the sun rises. And I thought it was cool that we
it's like empowering.
It's girl power, man.
It's girl power. Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. I liked that.
I like that too. Now that you woman-splained it to me.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
No, it is cool though, and especially. See, this is why I like doing these podcasts, because often you kind of rethink things as you get into them.
Yeah.
But going back to, we talked about how Nicholas Hoult is basically just scared sad boy. Mm-hmm. And like, what's his face? Aaron Taylor Johnson is this kind of like buff rich guy who's like used to always getting what he wants.
Yeah.
And like, they're both just completely powerless to do anything to stop this.
Right.
And, it is, and Lily Rose Depp's character, Ellen, like, realizes that it has to be her. Like, she realizes that she is the only one that has the ability to stop this evil. And, I mean, we should mention that, like, it's not just that this is, like, a vampire who, like, feeds on people.
Yeah.
But he has also brought a plague with him to this town.
So the whole town is losing their ever-loving minds and dying.
Like, there are plague rats running rampant, like, killing people all over the place. Like, it's just real bad. So, like, I do like the fact that, like, she, has the agency to end this. Like, I will say my one thing with the ending, which maybe if I watch this again I'll have less issue with, is that there really is no denouement.
Okay.
And like, I mean, I guess I don't even know what that would look like, but it literally is kind of, she keeps him busy with sexy sucking times until dawn.
Yeah, that was my problem.
And then he dies, and then like everyone walks in and sees that they're both dead, and that's literally it.
Yep. That was really my only problem with the whole. Well, no, there's one other thing that kind of annoyed me, but it's because I'm whatever. But there was nothing to bring it together.
Yeah, I feel like I needed
just an ending.
Yeah, just one more kind of beat.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
What else is I going to say about that? My only other issue, like, with the fact that she was the one is, like, I kind of wish, and maybe that could have been what the denouement would have been. I wish they hadn't telegraphed that to us so much.
Yeah.
because there's the part where Willem Dafoe's character is like reading a book about the Nosferatu lore, and it says that like the only way to stop it is by like a maiden sacrificing herself.
Yeah.
So like we're like, okay, well that's gonna happen. But then also Lily Rose Depp comes to that realization on her own.
Yeah.
And like has a conversation with Willem Dafoe's character about like, I know it has to be me. And so like they set up kind of this way to kind of like, I almost wish we had not known any of that, and that she had maybe just sent all the boys off on this wild goose chase.
Yeah.
And did what she did, and then maybe the denouement is like them realizing that she was smarter and strong, like, you know, them kind of recognizing that like she knew what she had to do, and like made this sacrifice, like knowing that that was the only way to kind of take care of the Nosferatu. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it needed a little bit of pepper and salt,
a little
or something.
pepper, a little mustard.
Yeah.
You said you had one other issue?
I was just, everybody had talked about how sexy it was, and there was that one scene where I don't remember what happened, because basically Lily Rose Depp and Nicholas Hoult just start fucking, and I'm like,
so what it was she is kind of in like, she's in like a trance, but she seems a little more lucid than in some of her trances, and she's like, you could never satisfy me like he does.
Yeah, I know, like, but I don't need that.
No, I'm just saying like that's what happened. Like,
yes. Thank you for
like she's talking to her husband and saying that like he can never satisfy her the way this wimp here does.
Very like serious conversation, and they're just like,
like all of a sudden Nicholas Hoult is just like, let us fuck.
Yeah, and I don't know, like I'm all about like sensual, sexy, whatever, but I was just like, this is okay, whatever.
So my biggest concern with the movie, going back to the beginning we talked about, what is Nosferatu? Like, where does it come from? Because like, in this movie, it feels like, it almost feels like she like summons it into existence or something.
Yeah.
You know, like, because he even says at one point, I think, that like she awakened him, or like it seems like he was like hibernating or something until she somehow called out to him. But like
I kind of liked that they didn't go into that.
I feel like I needed like a little bit more, because it's just, I love
a lore, you know.
I do too, but like, what is the lore?
That's what I mean. I love a lore, but I feel like we have the lore,
I guess.
If you know any, we just went through a whole list of movies that.
Well, so my understanding in the original silent version of Nosferatu is that part doesn't exist. And that when the husband is at the castle trying to, you know, finalize the land deal, he has a locket with him that has like a portrait of his wife. And Orlok sees that and is like, she has a nice neck. Like, I think he literally says something like that. And so that's when he gets fixated on her.
Yeah.
Which that makes more logical sense to me. Yeah. And I just like, I feel like the way this movie is, like, I needed something, because otherwise it's like, I don't know if I needed more about her, because, like, it's kind of implied that she has, like, a sixth sense or something, or is, like, more sensitive to these supernatural things, and, like, maybe that's how she calls out to him. But the whole situation was a little bit too nebulous to me.
I liked it because I feel like it was Robert Eggers' flavor. Like, like that's how some of the other movies are. I mean, like The Witch, like there's not, you don't know what the fuck's going on in that movie.
I mean, I feel like that it still worked for me though. Like I don't know. And I mean, I will admit that I probably need to rewatch this movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy the movie because of that. I just feel like I think that's something that probably made complete sense to Robert Eggers.
Right.
But doesn't quite work for me. Like, I needed just a little bit something more there to, like, explain this setup. Like, how... Because it feels like I said, it feels like this creature was just dormant.
Yeah.
Until she somehow calls out to him across, like, thousands of miles.
I'm so glad when I was, like, 13, all my sadness and, like... pleas for someone to like me and be my friend and didn't end with like a demon marriage.
I know. Like,
or did it?
Blah. There's something I need to tell you.
Oh no.
I am the vampire. So I guess, do you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
Beep bop boop, biddly boop boop. Nope, those were my notes, I think.
All right, so I'm going to put this up to you. Mm-hmm. We do usually put a numerical rating on things we're discussing. Mm-hmm. If you want, do you want to try to do that or no? It's up to you. Like if you had to rate this out of 10.
Oh, out of 10. Oh, okay.
We don't have to. I know we didn't discuss this beforehand. No, you go
first. You go first, and then I'll come up with a ranking. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if I had to rate this out of 10, I would... Also, this segment is usually where we give, like, our final thoughts about something.
Sure.
So I'll say this. This movie is visually stunning. It is just, like, all this... I mean, as Alexis mentioned, the wardrobe, the costumes, the sets, like... And just the cinematography of it all is, like, just visually amazing. I did really love all of the performances. I will say that I feel like this is Robert Eggers' maybe most accessible movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's to its detriment a little bit to me. As you said, like, there's definitely his flavor in this.
Yeah.
Like, there are some shots specifically that, like, I kind of had to laugh to myself a little bit, like, just because they exist. But I feel like to a large extent, it really is lacking some of the weirdness that I've come to expect from him. Like, there are weird things, and, like, there are, again, shots and things that happen that I don't think any other filmmaker would have really done. But I don't feel like it really ever goes full bore into, like, the madness that exists in his other films.
Yeah.
I looked this up. This actually has the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score of any of his movies at an 85% certified fresh rating. Whereas I believe, I'm doing this from memory, I believe The Witch has a 91%, and both The Lighthouse and The Northman have 90%. And then this is an 85%, which I should point out, those are all still below the 95% that the Glenn Powell classic Hitman has.
The Glenn Powell classic.
But I think I kind of agree with that. I think if I was giving this a rating out of 10, I would give it an 8.0 out of 10.
Wow, okay.
I really liked it. I just think it was a little bit lacking. We didn't talk about this, but I feel like it was a little bit long. Like, I feel like it could have been a little bit shorter.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. That being said, I do feel like that is probably subject to change if and when I rewatch this, which I'm sure I will.
Yeah.
What about you?
Okay. Do you guys do half?
Yeah.
Okay.
We do tenths, whatever you want.
Okay. Oh, that tracks for you guys. Okay. I'm going to give this a 6.5.
Out of 10?
Yes.
Wow.
And it has more to do with the subject matter.
Okay.
I think. I thought it was beautiful, and I thought I really loved how the story was told. I love a Dracula. I love a vampire. I think it's interesting to,
you married me.
That's right. It's all that blood sucking. Yeah, so I love all that stuff. But it does really follow kind of a Bram Stoker-y.
Yeah.
It follows the storyline. Yeah. And honestly, that storyline is, like, not my favorite, like, story.
Yeah.
Like, there are better stories you could tell about this character. And I think that's a big part of it for me. I think the length of the movie, I thought it was fine. I thought that was good. Anything under 3 hours.
Well, let me clarify. I feel like it could have been like a tight 2 hours.
Oh, for sure.
Like, yeah. I'm not saying I need it to be like 90 minutes, like much shorter than it was, but just,
No.
I feel like it could have been tightened up a little bit.
Yeah, I guess. I can see that. I don't know, though. I thought that was, but if I'm giving it out of 10, Hitman being a 10, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, like 6.5. God damn it.
All right, I'm going to revise my score because I honestly thought you'd be higher, and I felt really self-conscious. I think if I'm being honest, it's more like a 7.5 for me.
Yeah, 6.5 I think is where it's going to be because I loved every person did a great job, and like it was beautiful. I think it's going to be one of those movies we start to watch in October. Yeah. And like to get into spooky time. Yeah. And I think the more I watch it, the more I'll probably enjoy it and find new things to like about it. But for right now, I'm putting it at a 6.5.
All right. So we're averaging out to
a 7.
A 7.0 for Nosferatu.
Nosferatu. Oh, we didn't even talk about how goofy it sounds. How he sounds like Nandor from what we do in the Shadows.
So the voice that Bill Skarsgård does is effective. Yeah. He does kind of sound like, shout out to What We Do in the Shadows, one of the best vampire things. There's a character on there named Nandor, and he doesn't always sound like that, but sometimes he tries to do like a more dramatic, serious voice, and it kind of sounds exactly like Nosferatu. Yeah. Sounds like we're like not too far off in how we felt about it, though. Yeah. Well, so that brings us to the question I want to end on, which is, how would you rank the 4 Robert Eggers films? Okay. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? I'll do it.
Number 4 would be The Northman. I honestly didn't love that movie.
Wow. I mean, I think we need to watch that one again. We do need to watch it again. Because we did not watch it under ideal circumstances.
We did not. Let's not go into it. Yeah. But it was meh. Number 3, I'm going to say, is Nosferatu.
All right.
Okay. Number 2 is The Lighthouse. Yeah. And number 1 is The Witch.
Do you care to expand on any of that?
I think we've talked about Nosferatu enough. The Lighthouse I loved because it was just like 2 hours or whatever it is of what the actual fuck. And I liked that. Yeah. And I think Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe are amazing. Yeah, and it's just the two of them for the entire, I mean, and they play off each other beautifully. It's visually beautiful. Like, there's not a second of wasted time, I feel like, in that movie. Yeah. And then The Witch is just like, scared the shit out of me. And they did it without, too much gore. Yeah. Which I am not a gore person at all. No. There's a little bit of, like, icky. Yeah. But it was mostly just creepy, dark, the acting, the story. I love that movie. The goat is creepy as fuck. It's like one of my favorite scary movies now.
I agree. Yeah. So my ranking is pretty similar. Okay. Although I actually, so my ranking is actually in chronological order, it turns out. Okay. So my or I guess reverse chronological order if we're going from 4 to 1. Yeah. My number 4 is Nosferatu. Okay. Like I said, I like this movie. I feel like it was lacking that Eggers insanity.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it does. I agree with that.
I am putting The Northman at number 3. I apparently liked it more than you did. I do think we need to rewatch it, but to me, I feel like it was a little more propulsive than this movie. And it did have, it had a pretty unhinged Willem Dafoe for about 5 seconds. Yeah. I liked the weird, there's the weird visualization of the, tree of his family that pops up a couple times. Some weird, there's, a weird dream-like strangeness that I think I appreciate about Eggers' work.
I'm sorry to interject. Yeah. The other thing about that movie is I love Alexander
Skarsgård.
Particularly Alexander.
Yeah, he's the best Skarsgård.
Yeah.
I mean, Stellan's pretty good too.
Yes, but even that couldn't do it for me.
Just a mostly naked Alexander Skarsgård.
Yeah, mostly naked and killing people, masculine.
I think we should watch it again.
We probably should.
My number 2 is also The Lighthouse.
Yeah.
I agree. It's just a fantastic movie, great performances, etc. I was just thinking this. In my mind, you have not seen Twin Peaks The Return.
No.
Which is the 3rd season of Twin Peaks that was done on Showtime a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But one of the Showtime executives, when they were making... There was concern from fans as to the extent to which the network might try to interfere with the show.
Yeah.
And one of the executives said something like, it's going to be like pure tar David Lynch.
Okay.
And it was. It is... There's no way to explain or describe that season of television. It is a miracle that it exists and that, it was allowed to exist.
Uh-huh.
It is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen, but that's what makes it amazing.
Twin Peaks in general, but yeah, go ahead.
But you have no idea. But yes.
But yes.
But to me, I feel like that's what The Lighthouse is also. It's such a weird movie that it is kind of amazing that it exists. And, it's unlike anything else I've seen. Or, I wouldn't know how to describe it to anyone.
I don't know. And so much scuppering.
Stop your scuppering. But, I just love when an artist is allowed to just take a bold swing like that.
Yeah.
And, I just love that movie.
I think I've tried to describe it to someone when I was talking about Robert Eggers, and they were like,
yeah,
why would you want to watch that?
It's so good.
Yeah.
But then my number 1 is also The Vivitch.
Mm-hmm.
I just, echoing what you said, it's terrifying. There's great performances. It's also amazing, how much is not in that movie.
Yeah.
How I don't know off the top of my head what the budget of that movie was.
Yeah.
But, they did so much with so little resources.
There's a lot of negative space.
Yeah, but it's it's one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, and there are no jump scares. As you said, there's almost no gore. It is just all just atmosphere and dread, and I can't think of another movie that just makes you feel that way. Just let the dark foreboding wash over you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And man, what an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else you want to say?
No, that was Nosferatu.
All right. That's going to bring us to the end of another episode of Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing.
Yeah.
This has been Joe.
This is Alexis.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.